Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD podcast. We're going to be right back with our special Thursday feature guest. But before we do, as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, you've heard me say before, these are all companies I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. I want you to use them too. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our special guest, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Gipper for their support. Your students are on social media, and if they're not seeing content that celebrates their accomplishments and promotes your program, you're missing out on a great opportunity. Gipper's used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college programs. And whether it's helping you post a social media graphic celebrating a big win or helping you create a newsletter that's going to tell your stakeholders all the great things you're doing, the Gipper team will have you posting world-class content in seconds. It's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com for more information. That's Gipper.com. We also want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or your school's Hall of Fame? Go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touch screen video consoles. It's also a great way to share your school's unique history and brag a little bit about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. We want to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant athletic director, along with thousands of others, got his master's degree from Ohio University, and it was a great experience. It's very affordable, just 20 months, totally online. And while you're earning your master's, you're also completing 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. We want to thank Home Campus for their support. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day, whether it's scheduling or rosters, results. I'm telling you, their student athlete eligibility and clearance platform alone is worth the price. Go to homecampus.com for more information. That's all you got to do. Homecampus.com. We'd also like to say thank you to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. You can schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their video boards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made. It was a real game changer, and their indoor score tables and their video boards will do the same for your school. Go to sidelineinteractive.com to get more information. We want to say thank you to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes love the videos, and our parents love the streaming, but there is so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users. Find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. We'd like to thank Snap Raise for their support. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms, but if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. Go to snapraise.com. We also want to thank Hometown Ticketing for their support. Hometown is the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges, and whether it's more support, more security, or more customization, the Hometown team is here to help you make the best online ticketing solution. Go to hometownticketing.com. It's digital ticketing that offers more. And we'd like to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. At my school, we use surveys for everything: kids, coaches, parents, you name it. And the information that would come back is almost always over the top positive, but they also connect you with the squeaky wheel parent and let you address those squeaky wheel concerns before they turn into big issues. But having all that positive feedback is also incredibly important, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent or maybe your principal or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. And one of our episodes in our new series that has yet to come up with a name. I think maybe a month ago, I put it out that we wanted an exciting new name for this series that's going to air primarily on Thursdays. But let's go and get to our guest. Our guest is not only a Hall of Fame athletic director, probably in a couple Hall of Fames, but also somebody that I can call a very good friend. Regular listeners to the podcast will recognize the name Mike Ellson. Just a little bit about Mike. Mike's a certified master athletic administrator. He's a longtime athletic director in the state of Tennessee, actually the founding athletic director and coach at Christ Presbyterian Academy. He is, wow, he's a published author. He's a member of the NIAAA National Faculty. He's also on the NIAAA's Professional Development Academy team. And in his spare time, he's the executive director for the Tennessee Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association. And someone who may be new to the podcast, Mike was a guest very early on, and then I had him come back to help me share this little segment that we were doing called the Athletic Director's Toolbox. And when we were done, I think at that time we had maybe 80 tools or 80 athletic directors that had contributed. He said, Jake, this would be a good book. And I go, you really think so? And so you can either blame Mike or thank Mike for I think we're up to maybe 8 books now, either books of mine or books I've helped other people publish that are a direct result of the podcast. So, Mike Ellson, welcome back to the Educational AD Podcast.
Jake, thank you so much for having me. And thank you for having an open mind to share all of the wisdom that you were gathering as you were hosting so many awesome athletic directors in our profession, and what you've done with you've created this, these documents, these books, if you will, full of positive reinforcement for the position of an athletic director. Invaluable, we'll call them valuable tools, but really think about it, they're invaluable because you've done an outstanding job of sharing the wisdom of so many that are even currently walking in the profession or who have been there, done that. And it's really a phenomenal give back. And yes, you've had hundreds, if not, over 1,000 podcasts now, but think about the thousands of lives that have been impacted because of you having, a spirit of teachability, a vision, and then to be able to share that. The student athletes that are being blessed, the parents, Jake, you've impacted scores and scores and thousands of lives. So it's an honor to be on here with you today, and an honor to have you as one of our very dear friends.
Oh, Mike, you're very, very kind. And again, I enjoy hearing the stories. I think we do through the list or through the contributors. Provide a service to our listeners, and it's just a lot of fun. I enjoy doing it. I joke as long as people keep listening to the podcast, we'll keep doing the interviews. Well, again, if you're new to the podcast, this is a new series, and my goal was to bring some real pros on over the weeks to come. There'll be other men, other women, mostly athletic directors, to just share on subjects that are near and dear to them that hopefully will have impact for our listeners. Mike, you and I were talking earlier. You spent your career as a coach and as an AD at Christ Presbyterian. Very successful by any measure of success. Championship banners, kids that had a great high school experience because of you and your coaches and the program. I spent a big chunk of my time here in Florida at a couple of faith-based schools. And I guess we got to talking about how do you balance, I guess, a competitive program, hey, we want to win. We do want to hang championship banners while also being transformational to our kids. But at the same time, um, practice and walk the walk of good sportsmanship and also be true to your faith. How do you manage to let's say this is a terrible analogy, but I'm stuck for words. Serve those three masters. Have a successful program, but also honor your faith and honor sportsmanship. How did you do it?
Well, first of all, I always tried to go back and reflect on when I was not fortunate to get to be a coach or an athletic director. And it goes back to my wife. My wife house sat for a family when we got married in college, and she house sat, and I would go over there with her son, we'd do some yard work, and the family would talk about this brand new school called Christ Presbyterian Academy. At the time it was a K through 6, then a K through 7, and they had a PE job opening, no athletics, no sports for the first couple of years. And she knew his family, and they're like, hey, you need to go out there and apply. So I went and applied. So grateful for the job. And it's 100% because of my wife that I got the job. And my wife always reminded me, and this is where, maybe a takeaway is for the family, the people that love us unconditionally. Remember to go back and reflect on what it felt like when you were pursuing something and you wanted it so badly, but you weren't there yet. Remember those that supported you and no one knew about you, and they saw something that maybe you didn't see. So any AD listening, I would encourage them, listen to your grandparents, your aunts, uncles, your siblings, any mentor that you have, and remember where you come from. So for me, that anchors my wife. I'm going to go back a little bit further. I started CPA in 1987, but in 1981, I went to a Fellowship of Christian Athletes camp in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And my counselor, his first name was Gino, and he was like, amazing. He was like a boxer in the Chicago area, Golden Gloves, if you will. And that FCA camp theme in 1981 was a theme built around 1 Timothy 4:12, and the two theme words were stand tall. Well, that scripture was something that I based my whole career, all my philosophy on, as it turned from me as an individual, first coach, founding AD, into a we as an athletic community. And so I always thought about the value of standing tall. Well, you want to stand tall because God gives us a skill set of athleticism, of the mind as a coach, the mind as an athletic administrator, and we need to rise above any of the junk that we can see prevailing in athletic contests, the screaming and blasting and shaming of officials, the crowd and what we see on television networks, and putting down the opponent, all of those things. I thought often about that word stand tall, 1 Timothy 4:12, and it gave us this theme, cheer for your team and not against the opponent. So if we cheer with great passion for our team and not against the opponent, then we're reflecting on what we're doing and not the negativity in attack mode on the opponent or the other individual. Now, I also believe when you flip the scoreboard on, if you and I were going one-on-one, or we're in what I think is the most grueling 6 minutes in sports, which is wrestling for 3 2-minute periods, and you and I are going at it, I'm going to give you everything I've got with integrity, fight to the death within the rules. And then the horn sounds, and I want to get up, shake your hand, give you a hug, whatever, and say, thank you for the great competition. And I believe that's how we're wired. And too many times we get all hung up on the gold ball and the banner hanging in the gym and self-promoting, building our resumes and pumping that out on social media, when it's really, if we go back to our anchor, where we come from, did we stand tall throughout our entire time as a competitor, coach, in the heat of battle, whatever it might be? So to me, it was a badge of honor to have that privilege. And I always reflected back on that FCA camp in 1981.
Boy, I was just I wanted to transcribe that whole notes. You need to put all this down in a book, Mike. Not with me, but you need to do your own book. Um, the Starting that school, okay. And again, I was very privileged, very blessed to be a part of two different startups. There's that point where you're just happy you got a team out on the floor. And as an AD, you're trying to schedule properly, like competition. The kids start to get better. You as a coach, you start to get better. And, maybe you're winning some games, but for a while, it's going to be tough to get that win on the scoreboard. And there's probably some pretty, I know for us, a lot of humbling defeats. As you start to get better, now sometimes you find yourself in that position of being the dominant team. What were some things that you did as a coach, or that you would try to coach your coaches on when they happen to find themselves on the good end from a scoreboard, but that you're not trying to demoralize your opponent? Was that something that you talked about with your coaches?
Absolutely. And I also talked about it with our announcers because I didn't want our announcers to be homers. And so it wasn't like you had to lead a parade for the our guest. Instead of visitors, it's really our guest when we have an opponent. And so I would talk to our announcers and they're our voice. People might see us on paper or see us on the sideline as the athletic director, but they don't hear our voice. And so the game announcer, PA announcer, they're representing us. And so I would start there with the announcer and say, hey, we need to win with class. We lose with dignity, we win with class. In football, for example, I I never wanted us to run up the score. So if you're up, 35-7 or whatever, you start emptying the bench. You start putting in third, second and third string because those kids deserve an opportunity to play as well. If you're up 50 in the fourth quarter pressing, which I experienced as a coach on the opposite end where we lost the game by 48, I reflected back on that and I would remind our coaches, hey, we as an athletic program have been there, done that. Let's remember what it felt like and not make the opponent, don't grind the face of the opponent into the pavement and use athletics as a shaming tool, if you will. And that's why it goes back to remember where you come from. So that was the messaging. We didn't want to see a score in a basketball game of 90-20. Even on social media, Jake, we had a policy where if you're up 5 or 6 to nothing and that's a final score, that's okay to put that score, on social media. But if it's 12-0, we always said, hey, great game tonight, great contest. We enjoyed the victory. There's a way to frame it with your language that is valuable where you don't shame the opponent. And who knows, you may end up blessing the opponent. Maybe they're going, in a football season, maybe they're 0-9, but they ended up, coming back and playing a tough football game and losing by 2 touchdowns. And to them, that was a victory. So you secured your win, you kept your playoff position, but you didn't shame or humiliate the opponent.
Oh no, absolutely. It just it amazes me some of the things that we've seen. Let's say in this, I'm sure they've been out there in other ways, but the most recent college football season, this one weekend, it seems like everybody was planting the flag. As a
Yeah.
football coach, that was never a thing for us. I'm glad I didn't have to deal with it, but I would share with our kids when we win. I didn't say if we win. I would say when we win, we're going to find a teammate. We're going to celebrate. We're going to go over. We're going to sing our fight song, win or lose, in front of our fans. We're going to celebrate with our fans. Of course, there's a handshake too after the handshake. Uh, but this whole idea of, I guess, number one, the winning team planting the flag on the other team's logo, and then the other team saying, "Oh, we're not going to let them do that. They're disrespecting us." Well, hey, they just beat you during the game. You've already been disrespected if that's how you want to look at it. But what are your thoughts on that? And I guess how do we do a better job with our coaches and our kids to make sure that these things, and they are the exception, not the rule, but how do we get rid of them?
Well, I think for you and I at this stage of our career, we want to give back and we want to think about all the lessons that we learned. And that's where winning with dignity, winning with class, and teaching to that. And then we could even show our coaches, our school community, those flag planting issues or flag planting fights and scenarios. What pepper spray was in one of the games, I think Ohio State, Michigan, and we can see how we don't want to be. That's a really big takeaway, too. If you see negative lessons on the professional or collegiate level, let's utilize those as examples for education-based athletic programs in the middle school and high school levels to show them how we don't want to be. Because Jake, our society, I don't ever remember athletics being as important as it is as we approach the year 25. I mean, you and I are about the same age. I don't remember that growing up. But my goodness, now athletics with gambling and everything else, we're fighting up again. We're trying to buck up against a lot of different negative trends that are out there. And we've got to crush it with the power of positivity and taking a negative situation and turn it into a positive lesson for our kids. And then challenging our kids, hey, as you become adult, you get into the profession, no matter what might be, you can help us make a difference in the lives that come behind you.
No, and you're absolutely right. And I'm sure you're the same way. I look back at my coaches and teachers, in high school and college, just great role models. And in football, we didn't win that much when I was in high school. In basketball, we won all the time, not because of me. I was just there. Uh, but it was never about, oh, we're going to stick it to this opponent or we're going to do that. It was, hey, we're going to go out and, play hard. You're going to do the best you can. We're going to try to win as a team. I just wish we could see some more of that. Mike, if one of our listeners wanted to add you to their network or just reach out and pick your brain, and listeners, I'm just a guy who hosts a podcast. Mike Ellson is the real deal. You got a tremendous resource here. How do our listeners get a hold of Mike Ellson?
Sure, Jake. Thank you. It's Mike, Ellson 46 at gmail.com, or my cell number is 615-406-9944.
Well, Mike, thanks again for sharing with our listeners. All the best with the TIAAA and your work with the NIAAA. Hopefully, it's not going to be another year before we connect in person. I guess I'm going to have to just make the trek up to Tennessee and see your state conference. For our listeners, we're recording this on December 20th. So, Mike, I'm going to put you on the spot. Big college football playoff game coming up. I'm assuming you're a Tennessee Vol fan, although I know you're from the Midwest. Who's your team in the pool?
100% Hoosier bred and born, and let's go Hoosiers. And what's funny, Jake, about myself and so many other Indiana fans growing up, you kind of wait for basketball. So because football was bad for all those years, who do you think we cheered for?
Mhm.
The team that played out of South Bend, the Fighting
Mhm.
Irish. And so this is kind of crazy that this game is occurring tonight. And I don't know if Indiana will get blown out or not, but it sure has been nice to have the Hoosiers included in the conversation this fall as we embark on a new playoff system.
Yeah, no, that's got to be exciting. Again, I've kind of been following them. Their coach is just a very colorful character. I love the quotes, and he's come in and he's got that program, winning again on a lot of different levels. I think he's winning with class. Okay. Well, as you know, I'm a big Oregon Duck fan. So even as people are listening to this and that Indiana Notre Dame game's already been playing, I'm pulling for my Ducks. So
That's
for our
right.
listeners, I hope all of your teams are successful. We appreciate you listening today. Just a reminder, we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do appreciate you listening. Please come back and join us on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. Yeah, make sure you reach out to Mike Ellson, Tennessee Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association. Also, you can find his information in the NIAAA membership portal. We do want to give a shout out to all of our sponsors because they help make this happen. I want to thank Gipper. I want to thank Ohio University's Online Masters in Athletic Administration. I want to say thank you to Huddle and Hometown Ticketing. Thank you to Snap Rays, Vital Signs Wall of Fame. I want to thank Home Campus, Sideline Interactive, and Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.